Welcome to USMNT Weekly, our regular foray into all things US men's national team. On today's show, we're spotlighting recent US player performances, we're building our World Cup 11s, and we're offering some potential ways to bolster the centre-back pool. Or are we? My name's Ryan Bailey. Joining me today, it's the Taylor Rockwell. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. Hello, the Ryan Bailey. Ryan, is it safe to say you've talked more about USMNT starting 11s than you have England 11s in your entire life?
At this point, one or two more shows, and we've crossed the Rubicon. Definitely, Taylor. Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I love talking about
Love it. Yeah, it's your favorite.
Yeah.
Oozing sincerity and enthusiasm, Ryan Bailey, which is a good thing to ooze. If you got to ooze something, sincerity and enthusiasm, that's the way to go.
Indeed, but Taylor, to be clear, I love soccer. We're not down the coal mines. This is a fun thing to do, to chat with my buddies about USMNT, so let's get to it. And we'll introduce Mr. Joe Lowery as well. Hello, Joe.
A lot of oozing chat in the first minute or so of this show. Almost infinitely more, some are saying, than what was expected coming in. The over-under was far lower. I still would have smashed the under. That would have been my bad.
I'll take that over aching chat, frankly, though, Joe.
Yeah, that would have been a smart. They don't even offer that line anymore, Ryan, because it's just so easy. Oozing is the new aching, I think.
Gross. Graham Ruthven, hello.
Hello, Ryan Bailey. I've definitely talked more about the USMNT than I have the Scotland national team in my life, which, frankly, I'm okay with that, given the way things are going for Scotland, both now and historically in my lifetime. This is okay with me.
Very good. Yes, indeed. We have got plenty of USMNT chat to come on this episode. Before we get there, patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. Hey, did you hear? That's the best way to support this here endeavour. Yeah, it's true, Joe. It's true. Don't look so surprised.
I'm shocked. I'm oozing with shock.
Oh, man, you never want to do that.
Then you can get bonus episodes on there, bonus video content, and access to our Discord server where all of the cool kids are hanging out. Patreon.com/Total Soccer Show. Goodness me, what a start to this episode. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Hey, Taylor.
Yeah.
Let's start off the conversation around players who have stood out to us, US players who stood out to us over the weekend, over the most recent round. Can we even squeeze in a nomination for US players who performed well in, let's say, Tuesday's Champions League evening? Let's say in PSV's win over Napoli, for example. That's a player that might want some spotlighting.
Are you trying to lead me to Ricardo Pepi? Because, my friend, my answer is not Ricardo Pepi. Would you like to talk Ricardo Pepi, Ryan?
He just done a goal in the Champions League. I thought it was worth talking about.
Not as many as Scott McTominay, though, as he did for the team that lost 6-2.
Well, his was more useful. He was a winner.
Yeah.
I did not have Ricardo Pepi, largely because I haven't watched much of the Champions League thus far. I look forward to doing that this evening in frantic fashion to be ready for our Champions League review show later in the week. For now, what I will say is that this weekend was kind of a little bit of a bummer. It was a little bit of a down weekend, at the very least, because we had Pulisic out with injury, Tillman, Jedi Robinson also out with injury. So not like some of the names that you would reliably expect to be in the conversation, but Yunus Musa, I think an unused substitute, Gio Reyna and Joe Scally having a rough time with Gladbach. So it's a slightly tougher one. And so we could go negative with the standout. I'm going to try to stay positive, and I'm going to point to Noahkai Banks. Started his second straight Bundesliga match this past weekend. He played in the 3-1 win over Wolfsburg prior to the international break, and then this weekend it was a 1-1 draw with Köln. I missed, honestly, that he scored a goal against Wolfsburg in his first start of the season. He got his first professional goal, and then this past weekend was just a very reliable performer for them against Köln. Really good passing numbers, also getting involved into the attacking side of things. He has 5 or 6 passes into the final third, and really just looked stable. He looked like he has earned a starting spot. I don't know if he will hold on to that once everybody is fully fit with Augsburg, but for now, it's a very exciting time to have a youngster coming through, looking strong in an area of, I would say, identifiable need for the USMNT heading into the World Cup. So to have somebody playing well in the Bundesliga as a center back, long may it continue.
Yeah, I also watched Noahkai Banks' game for Augsburg in that draw against Köln. I thought he looked, in general, and I'll get back to the hesitation.
I agree with your hesitation.
Up to the level, right? Taylor, I love the way that you frame these kinds of things with young players, is you don't want them to stand out in a negative way. And by and large, Noahkai Banks did not stand out in a negative way. Man, I just combined Noahkai and Noahkai. I think Noahkai is what he's sort of drifted towards. I'm working on it. Don't worry, Banks. I'm working on it. I think in possession,
Banksy is the way to go.
Oh, that might stick, Taylor. That might stick. I'm going to call it now.
And it's been power washed away in 12 minutes.
You win some, you lose some, right? I think he is clearly, Banksy, gifted in possession as a center back. Like that That shines through even in games like this one where he's still clearly trying to find his footing at the Bundesliga level. He can hit line-breaking passes. He likes and is good at driving forward with the ball at his feet. In this game, he was playing as a left-sided center back in a back three, and he is so comfortable just gliding forward in possession. It doesn't seem to be particularly fussed when he is actually under pressure. The biggest thing that impresses me about Banksy at this stage, man, I feel like now I'm forcing it a little bit. I'm working on it. I'm going to find the balance. Don't worry. I think he buys extra time for himself on the ball. And what I mean by that is, think about Miles Robinson, maybe in this mental image that you're creating for yourself. When Miles Robinson is under pressure, he doesn't have the bag of tricks to actually work his way out of pressure. All he does when he's under pressure, for the most part, not to totally discredit Miles Robinson, but he looks downfield and finds a direct pass because he doesn't have the skill under pressure to take a little touch to create just a tiny bit of separation or to maybe pull out a feint before the ball even gets to him to buy himself just that little bit more time. We're not talking about big chunks of time here. We're talking about fractions of seconds, but that's really important, especially when you're under pressure. And the U.S. want to be a team that is a little bit better at creating and finding moments under pressure. And I think Banks, maybe more than any center back in the pool, even now, is better at that thing. Like his ability to add that little half a second to his time on the ball when needed, right? When it's not needed, he'll move the ball quickly. But I think that is such a huge asset for Noahkai Banks. And I think we saw it in this game. We've seen it in pretty much all of his Bundesliga minutes so far, which is hugely encouraging for the U.S. as they look for a center back. Now, the negative from this game, defensively, there's still some work to do, right? And I'll skip ahead to the TLDR. He is not a perfect player yet, and he is not a, wow, this guy's obviously better and more mistake-free than all of the non-Chris Richards center back in the pool kind of player just yet. He's not there. And the reason he's not there yet is because he is not quite reliable enough when it comes to the defensive side. Now, enough just means he's not obviously better than the rest of the center backs in the hat right now. Enough does not mean, spoiler alert to the third segment, that I don't want to see him with the U.S. I do. I think it's a worthwhile investment of minutes into a player like Noahkai Banks. But his ability to step forward into midfield is great because he has a lot of athleticism. His timing and understanding of when to step in his decision-making isn't there yet. There are two moments in this game. 26 minutes, steps into midfield, the pressure in the counter press, gets it all wrong, slips, counterattack right in behind him, can't get a shot. Another sort of similar moment in the second half. That needs to be worked on, and it can be. But I just bring all that to say, I know I've hyped up Noahkai Banks quite a bit, and I will continue to do so because I think it's worth it, and he's a great talent. But there's still work to be done.
There is. And Joe, I think that is very, very useful context to provide around Banksy, Noahkai, whatever we want to go with, because he seems to be the latest subject of the USMNT shout brigade on Twitter and the like. Everything I saw about him was like, he should be starting. Why isn't he starting already? He is the solution. He's better than Chris Richards. It's like it's been taken to that new level because he scored a goal, basically. And I feel like one or two pundits really hyped him up, and it kind of grew from there. And now it seems to be like, well, he should be starting. And if he's not starting, if he's not in that next team, if he's not in November, what's Poch doing? And it feels like it's the latest sort of, I don't know, what's that called? Like it's like that you're throwing out the straw man argument to then be really mad about it. Like it just sort of feels like we're moving in that direction, whereas there are limitations and drawbacks to his game. It's why he hasn't been a regular starter yet. It's good that he is starting, and it's good that he is developing, but it's also good that we can see those vulnerabilities in his game because he has time to work on them, and we can see that improvement. If we don't see that improvement, if they continue to be the same issues like 6 months from now as they are now, then I think we understand why he might be not starting or not in the squad. I do still think if you have regular starts for him in the Bundesliga and there is kind of non-negative standout performances from him, then I think you do look at him in November and see how he fits back into that team. Poch has obviously had a look before. From what I read, it seems like he liked him, but wanted to see more of him before he sort of went with him as a reliable starting option. So maybe we'll see that in November.
Yeah, Poch said he could be the best defender in Europe, which felt like the Pep Guardiola thing of, he's the best player in the world, you know, but not that he's...
But doesn't Pep do it when he like hates the player?
He does the thing, yeah. Yeah, he just tells everyone they're that good. That might be a secret.
I do think Banks is an incredible prospect. Like he is. Mm-hmm. What Poch is saying is a little bit wild. Like that's not going to happen. Like Pau Kubarsi exists, all this stuff. He's a really, really, really good prospect. Like one of the best the U.S. has ever had? ? I only hesitate because I don't have like the full historical context there. But man, since I've been doing this, he is right up there with a lot of these guys. So. There's a lot to be excited about. And again, to be clear, I would still call him into camp. I would still give the guy minutes. Like I would rather spend minutes on Noahkai Banks than Mark McKenzie or Miles Robinson. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And you go back to the veteran for the World Cup, and it's really fine. So I think it's an incredibly low-risk thing to do, to give Banks some minutes. You don't want to stunt his development and shake his confidence by putting him in a position where he can't succeed. But the U.S. is playing Paraguay in one of their games next month. And I know Paraguay will be at the World Cup, but that is not a situation in which you're setting Banks up to fail. If you give him 45 minutes or give him a start and let him play 60 in a game like that, I think that should be on the table. I think it probably is on the table, but ultimately he needs to continue to earn minutes at club too.
Yeah. We can't set up the Banks to fail, Joe. We know what happened in 2008. Graham.
Too soon.
Who's your player? Who's your player to spotlight, Graham? I hope you've got plenty of positivity to bring to the table.
Well, that's the thing. Like Taylor, I looked at the slate for this week's episode and struggled to pick out anyone that really played well. I was reading for this. I'll often use Brian Sciaretta's Americans Abroad column. He kind of lists out players that have played and what they did over the weekend in like short form format, and just a lot of players who did not dress for this weekend's game, which I know is a customary American term. That my European mind can never really comprehend that term. It's like that they have the dream that I have every so often, where you're in public and you're naked. But a lot of players sitting out this weekend. So I've decided to.
You get that dream a lot.
More than one should. Once is enough. So I've decided to flip the segment somewhat and look at a standout player in a negative sense, unfortunately. And obviously I have been banging the drum for CCV for a while now on this show. There was a time when I felt he deserved a shot in the US starting lineup. I think the peak of that was around the last World Cup, where he did actually force his way into the equation for that tournament. I think he starts a game at that World Cup. But he wasn't quite as strong last season. He's had a gradual decline since Big Ange left Celtic, and this season has been a real struggle for CCV in general. So the context there, the general context, is that it's been a struggle for Celtic as a whole. They are in the mud at the moment. They are much weaker now than they've been in a long time. They had a nightmare summer transfer window, and that negativity is like seeped into the season itself. And they lost to Dundee at the weekend. Dundee are a really bad team. That was a real low, a new low for them this season, and unfortunately it was a new low for CCV as well. It's probably the worst performance I've seen him play in Scotland for Celtic. Scored an own goal, although that was a little unfortunate. It sort of just like hit off him at the back post. He didn't know a lot about it, but in general, like, really struggled with Dundee's movement. Felt like he was being pulled all over the pitch in defensive transition, which has been a theme for him this season. And it's worth stressing again that Dundee are a really, really bad team. They could be relegated this season. But physically, the two Dundee strikers, they had the beating of him physically. They matched up well against him. And I think CCV this season he's just looked a split second late to everything. He's just looked a little bit slow, which has always kind of been a little bit of a weakness of his. But he has had Alistair Johnson at right back to mask some of those issues. Alistair Johnson, Canadian, of course, international, has like brilliant recovery speed, and he's out injured at the moment. So there's another bit of context there for why he might be struggling. I also think Austin Trusty was a good partner for CCV last season, and Trusty is just completely out of the picture for Celtic right now. He's played 40 minutes, I think, in the league this season. Hasn't had injuries. He's just not playing for Celtic right now. So there are pieces of context as to why CCV is struggling. I think the midfield as well. He's not getting a lot of protection from central midfield either. But it was really, really rough for him on Sunday, and this feels like the first time that he has faced genuine questions about his place. They don't have anyone to replace him, Celtic, so he will continue to play, but their fans are kind of questioning him for the first time because he has been a central pillar of this team for a number of seasons now.
Sounds like it's going great in Glasgow.
Superb.
Wonderful. Good
Graham,
to hear.
One quick follow-up on that one. Like, how often is often that you're having the naked dream? like once a week?
It tends to happen after I've stayed up till 5 a.m. to watch the USMNT through the middle of the night.
They're
so
linked.
There could be a trend there. Yeah.
Are you ever coaching the US? Are you ever on the sidelines and suddenly you look down and think, oh no?
Well, all I've got is a lemon, like a fig leaf. The fig leaf is a lemon.
Wow.
Oh boy, Graham.
Fantastic.
Say less.
You have to actually go to sleep to be able to dream, so that's a problem with
there we
Graham
go,
in
yeah.
itself. Yeah. Joe, any other players you'd like to spotlight?
I will quickly provide a slightly more positive spin on the weekend as a whole. There are obviously a lot of guys that are injured. Pulisic and Tillman coming out of camp, as Taylor had mentioned, with those injuries is unfortunate. We also did get Pepe and Dest back on the field over the weekend, and Pepe then did score against Napoli. It's a good sign. Gio Reyna, I think, got tossed in as being a bad performer for Gladbach. I didn't think he was bad in his minutes, and he actually played for the first time in more than a month, I believe. So will that continue? No. Does it matter? Probably not, because he's going to be injured again in November. But I do think it was a fine weekend in general for Americans. Folarin Balogun is the only other player that I want to mention. He comes off the bench in Monaco's 1-1 draw with Angers on Saturday. He scores the goal for Monaco, and it was a lovely sort of classic Folarin Balogun-esque goal where he is able to kind of race in behind a little bit, but this time more in like, all I can think of now is basketball terms for some reason, like the half-court offense. Like, it's not a transition attack that starts in his own half. It starts with him kind of running in behind the back line when Monaco are attacking in Angers' half. And it's a very well-taken goal, and the rest of his minutes, he didn't have a ton of touches, but was efficient on the ball. I mean, it's him, and then there's a gap, right, until Ricardo Pepi changes that fact. But it's good to see Balogun, who is not a guaranteed starter for Monaco, continuing to produce in his minutes in Liga.
Yeah, and Monaco have a new manager as well. They appointed Sebastian Pochettino, I think is how you pronounce that. He was the Union Saint-Gilloise manager. Adi Hutter was sacked over the international break. So just another thing that potentially changes his situation at club level, Balogun, but I think he's performing at a high enough level that he's going to at least be given an opportunity by Pochettino.
Superb. Thank you very much, gents. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're looking at our World Cup 11s, who we think is going to start in North America next summer. Join us then. Total Soccer Show. Hey, welcome back to USMNT Weekly, everybody. It came up on a recent show that Graham said he could guess 9 of 11 starters of Mauricio Pochettino's team. He was very confident in that. No naked dreams around the anxiety of getting those 9 players right is our understanding. So, Graham, this has inspired us to each give our World Cup 11s. To call you out, I'd love you to give to kick us off here. How would you like to start? Perhaps with the goalkeeper, that would be appropriate.
That's normally where we start with these sort of things. So I will surprise nobody and say Ethan Horvath. No, kidding on. Matt Fries. And I would be surprised if any of my co-hosts deviate from that. He's surely the starting goalkeeper. At this point, obviously, injuries and so on could change the situation. But besides anything like that happening, it'll be Matt Fries at the
It'd be weird if they didn't. It'd be weird if that's how married Pochettino was to Matt Fries. Like, broken leg, get in there. You're the starter.
'Tis a scratch. 'Tis a flesh wound.
Tis but a scratch. It's just standing on stumps. Joe, did you also have Matt Fries, I'm assuming?
Yes, I did.
Does anyone feel particularly strong about that? It feels like he has become the starter, and so we're just like, yeah, he starts every game for Pochettino. He's the starter. But I think because there's concern about center backs and people being fit and who's going to be in the midfield, I think that's one that maybe we haven't spent a ton of time on, and I'm not sure we need to now. But I have yet to see that performance from Fries where I'm like, yep, that is why he is the starter. It is clear to me now that this is his team and his position to lose. It definitely is his position to lose. He had some good moments in the most recent round of friendlies, but overall, I'm still sort of waiting for that game, which isn't intended as a shot at him. It is just a concern about how quickly he's become the starter without really feeling like, not that he didn't earn it, but just that there weren't obvious challengers that he saw off.
Yeah, I completely agree, Taylor. Goalkeeper, the reality is just not a position of strength right now. I think Matt Fries is a fine, if not amazing, shot stopper. He's put up good numbers in MLS and has largely been good when it comes to stopping shots for the U.S. This matters much less, but to be clear, he doesn't play with his feet especially well. We saw that in the last window. He doesn't have real plus ability in possession, which is fine. That's not as important as the shot-stopping stuff. But there's no one breathing down his neck particularly hard outside of Matt Turner, who I do think provides some useful competition to Matt Fries because he's been the guy before. And Fries knows that. He knows that he hasn't been to a World Cup, and Matt Turner has. I think that will help drive Matt Fries forward. But anybody who tells you that goalkeeper right now is a position of strength for the U.S. so that they feel great about it is either an NYCFC fan or they're lying to themselves.
I feel great about it.
There you go.
Closeted NYCFC fan, found it, discovered it.
I'm gonna be honest here, and maybe this is silly, where this feeling is coming from. But I read his My Game and My Words piece for The Athletic, and then I was editing the audio interview of that for the segment that we pulled out. And he at one point said, trying to think of all of his one-on-ones he has faced in MLS, said, I've only conceded the one. I have a 93% percentage in one-on-ones. And I know he's a Harvard guy. I know we want to believe that he's this like stats-oriented math guy who can process all the information. But there was just that part of me that was like, no, you haven't. You don't know if it's 93%. I feel like you're making that up. And I don't know why, but it was just a moment of like, I think you might be making that up. And if you're making that up, it bothers me. And I think it just bothers me because like you don't have to be that self-assured. That feels like a little bit of a projection, and maybe I now am projecting. I would like to own that. But for some reason, that one little moment was just sort of a like, 93? Okay. All right.
Well, maybe
we'll
maybe it's just like Maldini. You know how Maldini never got dribbled past because he was never in a situation to get dribbled past. Maybe he's got his angles so worked out. The geometry is so spot on in his head that he never has to face a one-on-one, and maybe that's right.
I feel like we've seen him beaten in a one-on-one for the U.S.
One time.
That's the one.
Good point.
Any good Harvard statistician will tell you that 93% of statistics are made up on the spot, Taylor. So there you go. Back threes. Speak now or forever hold your peace, gents, if you don't have a back three for this team. Good. Graham, we come back to you because the pressure's on you to name your back three now.
Yeah, so just to clarify, this is what I think Poch will do at the World Cup. I think I can name 2 of the 3. So I said 9 out of the 11. There are 2 positions that I think there's a big question mark over. One of the centre-backs is the big question mark for me, so I've got Ream and Richards. I know there are, seems particularly from maybe Joe on this show, question marks over Ream. I also have those question marks, but I just think Poch seems to like him and has made him captain a number of times since he's taken over, so I think it will be Ream and Richards. And then the third centre-back is up in the air. If you were to force me to predict who that will be, I think it will be Mark McKenzie. Is playing right side of a back three at club level. Another player that Poch, he kind of came and went on Mark McKenzie. Poch, where he was one of his initial guys it seemed to like, and then it went away from him, and now he's come back to Mark McKenzie. I think it'll be McKenzie, but I'm not so certain on that. The other 2, I am certain on.
I totally agree, Graham. With everything you just said there, I'd be shocked if Ream isn't starting at SoFi Stadium in less than a year. I mean, every piece of evidence we have points towards that. So Charlotte FC, Ryan, will get that representative. And Richards is obviously a no-brainer, even though we should be clear, he's not been super great in the middle of the back three for the U.S. Wasn't especially good for Palace over the weekend either. He is not above reproach right now, Chris Richards, but relative to the pool, he is, right? So he has to be on this team. And then I think it is interesting that we all went with a back three. I think one thing is clear, fairly clear for Pochettino. In possession, it will be a back three, right? Almost every game. Not quite every game, but almost every game. Poch has gone to that 3-2-5 attacking setup that's really popular all over the world. I do think that's what we'll see. In defense, and I did this whole thing after the Australia game, I think it's notable that the U.S. only defended with a back three in games against other teams that have set up in that same 3-4-3 shape. So we saw it against Japan, we saw it against Australia. We don't have evidence that says Poch is going to use that against every team. But really, when thinking about how you want to set this team up in the attack to get to that 3-2-5 shape, it's hard to find how to do that without popping a Miles Robinson in. Or if you bring Joe Scally into the team, then you're probably benching Serginho Dest, which doesn't feel right. So it gets complicated. So I think it's possible that we see this back three to open the World Cup, regardless of the opponent. But I don't think it's a guarantee necessarily just yet. So we'll see.
Taylor, your 3?
Ream, Richards for sure, and then I like that we had the opening conversation about not overly hyping Noahkai Banks because he's not there yet, and obviously I have him as my starter for the U.S. In my 11. I mean, I think it could be Mark McKenzie. I've never been overly impressed by Mark McKenzie for the U.S. I think you could probably say the same for my co-host of Tim Ream, so it's not as though like we're feeling rock solid about the majority of these center back selections, but I think maybe just because Banks is the unknown at this point and because there is that little bit of hype behind him, I'm just more enthusiastic about him. If he'd played this weekend and they scored an own goal, I don't know if I would have him on this list, but I do right now, I think, because he represents possibility and potential strength, and right now in an area of concern, I guess that's what I'm looking for.
Very good. Graham, your wing-backs, full-backs, whatever we want to call them.
Yep, so on the left side, Anthony Robinson, starting to get a little bit concerned at how little soccer he's playing at the moment, but we're still a long way out from the World Cup. But I don't believe he played at all at the weekend, which yeah, his recovery.
He didn't dress, Graham. He didn't dress.
He did not dress. Yeah, he had that dream. I did not anticipate. I certainly didn't hope that his recovery from injury would take this long. We're now getting into November. Like, we're getting into a good chunk of the season now, and he's still not played meaningful minutes. So, slight question mark there, but I think he'll be okay by next summer. And then the right wing back, I think it'll be Sergiño Dest. I'm willing to write that in pen. I do have questions over what his role is going to be in this team, though, particularly if we see the fake right wing back that Tim Weah played in the last game. I don't know whether Dest can play as that sort of right-sided midfielder, I guess, in a 4-4-2. But ultimately, this just comes down to Tim Weah. I don't think has been overly impressive for the US. Who are the other options? Sergiño Dest, I think, is fundamentally the best player in that pool, and I think he'll start on the right.
Well, and the good news, Graham, is if you're in a pure back three shape, Dest doesn't have to do what Weah did, right? Where Weah in that game against Ecuador, he did attack sort of as that withholder on the right, which would be the same role that we're giving to Dest here. But then he could defend in the midfield line because he had Miles Robinson defending as a pure right back behind him. But in the 3-4-3, I believe we've already seen, we have seen glimpses of Dest for Pochettino, but I think he's a very natural fit for that particular role, just as a pure up and down wing back of sorts. I have Dest, I have Robinson. I think those guys, even though we haven't seen many minutes from them, certainly Dest under Pochettino so far, I still think they're locks. Like, they're just so clear of the field. If Tim Weah had played really well under Pochettino and it seemed like Poch really liked him, maybe you have a few more questions about Dest because Weah can do that wing back role. But I don't think we're there at this stage. I think it's Dest and then the field at this point.
Okay, Taylor?
Seconded. Yep. Jedi and Dest are my two.
Very good. Once again, we come back to Graham because I'm enjoying this. The middle two, Graham.
Okay, so Tyler Adams is one of those players. Hasn't been great for the US that recently, but Poch has just spoken so glowingly about him, right? Like, one of his first press conferences he gives as US manager, he talks about like how he wanted to sign Tyler Adams for Chelsea. So there's a long-standing admiration of Tyler Adams, and I still think, even though we've had the conversation about Johnny and Tessman and Aidan Morris, and I bet there's a couple others in there that I've forgotten about, I still think Tyler Adams can perform that role at the base of the midfield better than anyone else. So Tyler Adams, I think, is there. This is where there's a slight equation that I'll explain, and maybe this is where I fold in the dual 10s here as well in this system. So Weston McKennie, I think, will start for the US next summer in the first game, assuming he's fit, and all these players are fit, of course. Question is whether it's as an 8 or a 10. That's where I'm not so sure. So if he is playing as one of the 10s, then I think the question mark is over who's next to Tyler Adams in central midfield. It might be a Tessman, it might be a Johnny, it might be who else have we spoken about? Who played in the last? Christian Roldan, of course, is also in that discussion as well. And if he plays as an 8, then it becomes, Malik Tillman or Luna or Zendejas or someone else. So if I'm folding together the two centres and the two 10s, I think it's Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic that are going to start, and then the question mark over who that fourth member is, and then depending on where Weston plays, they're either an 8 or a 10, if that all makes sense.
I completely agree, Graham. I have the exact same line of thinking. I do think, though, it's more likely, based off of what Pochettino has presented us in the last couple of times Weston McKennie's been in camp, that McKennie is one of those 10s. We saw it against Ecuador, we saw it against Australia, we saw it against Panama back in March. I mean, the Canada game, he did play deeper in midfield, but that game didn't matter. And also, I don't know if we should take anything from that game. It does make me think that Pochettino views McKennie more as one of those dual 10s rather than in the double pivot. If that is the case, how would you pair Tyler Adams in midfield? Because in that case, I think we would have McKennie and Pulisic in the attacking midfield spots underneath the striker, and then Adams and who in midfield?
Yeah, I think that might depend on who you're playing, to be honest. If that's a game where you're going to have more of the ball, then someone like Roldan makes sense to have a sort of like deep-lying rhythm builder to sort of mask some of Tyler Adams. Are you smiling?
Because you're
thinking back to the discussion. I don't know what else to call them. Tell me what to call them. Anyway, player who has lots of touches of the ball. Christian Roldan is good at that. Tyler Adams maybe not so much. But if you are playing like a tier 1 opponent and you're going to be playing against the ball, I would still, despite everything, would like to see Johnny in that role just to know. We still don't know. So theoretically, it's an abstract concept at this point, but maybe someone like Johnny.
Graham, I just want to keep getting you in hot water. When you say Tier 1 opposition, I just want to make sure you specifically don't mean Morocco, right?
Oh, man, they won the U20 World Cup just to spite me, didn't they?
They sure did.
Last week, yeah.
But, Graham, just let me get that audio real fast. Morocco is not a Tier 1 nation? Thank you.
I mean, I've committed to it on the YouTube video, so I might as well continue.
He said it once in a correct summary of events. And
then 10,000 Moroccans descended.
I agree with everything that's been said. However, I take issue with like some of the ordering of players because it feels to me like Malik Tillman has become a reliable performer for Mauricio Pochettino, but then is injured in this last camp, correct? So it's not as though McKennie's starting over Tillman. It feels to me like maybe Pochettino was just seeing what other players can offer him there. Joe, I take your point that when McKennie does that twice, it does feel like he's maybe one of the 10s. It's just Pulisic is going to start in one of those spots, assuming this is the formation, because he will. And so then it's between Tillman and McKennie. And if Tillman has kind of played himself into good graces, such as it is a conversation between those two, it feels to me like then if you're looking at, all right, well, then who's the other number 8? I don't know if there's anybody who's going to do that job better than Weston McKennie. So I think I go back to that sort of same, it's probably McKennie starting in one of those spots, and if Tillman is starting, then it has to be as an 8 alongside Tyler Adams.
It's a good point, Taylor. We don't know that Poch rates McKennie above Tillman. Like that, they both started together against Ecuador. Tillman got hurt. That's why he didn't start against Australia, or at least that ruled him out of playing against Australia. We don't know what that lineup would have been. Yeah, that's the question mark. Like for me, and I think we've hit it well. I know we still have a number 9 to do. Hint, it's Balogun for all of us. The 3 questions I think for this roster at the moment are Taylor, big Josh Sargent guy still. Milan Olaski, sorry, that's what I meant to say.
Charlie Kelman.
They're one of those guys, all very real soccer players. I think the 3 questions are, if Poch uses a back 3, who's the third center back, who plays in midfield, and who's the other non-Pulisic like half space guy. I think those are really the only 3 questions, assuming everyone bar Gio Reyna is healthy in this pool, because Gio is like a concept, right? So he's not sniffing my 11 at the moment. I think those are the places that still have a lot of uncertainty around them, and those are the things that I'm curious about come the November window. I mean, toss on top of all of that, does Poch use a back 4? And if so, how does he balance who's providing width and who is playing inside in that back 3 in possession? Because no one other than, it feels like Dest and Jedi, to be totally honest, feel like capable width providers for the U.S. Like Weah's not in that group at the moment. Who is? Like I don't think there's anybody besides those guys. So there are all sorts of questions about how Poch gets into his preferred possession shape with his best personnel if he's not playing a pure back 3 in both attack and defense. But Graham, I'm willing to say you nailed it. I think your 9 of 11 was spot on. I like it.
And Big Pat up front, that's what you've got, right?
Yeah, Big Pat. That's what I meant to say before. Balogun. I said Balogun, but I meant to say Big Pat.
Yeah. Are we all agreed on Balogun? No challenges there?
I think he's quite far ahead of the field at this point. And look, Ricardo Pepi might end up being a victim of circumstance here, where in terms of just like general overall quality, I'm not sure that Balogun is that much better than Ricardo Pepi. But Pepe has been out these last couple of windows, and those windows have proven to be really, really important, and Balogun's been the best player on the pitch for the US. So it feels like now you want to continue to build those reps rather than going back to square one and trying another player in that position that you're not sure is better than Balogun anyway. So in that sense, I feel a bit sorry for Pepe, but yeah, it feels like it's Balogun's shirt now.
Very good.
Is there no Big Pat rapper? I feel like there has to have been a rapper named Big Pat. There's been Fat Pat. There's been Project Pat. I don't know if there's been a Big Pat, and that's what
Notorious
I keep thinking there should
PAT?
be. Well, that's now the new name. Thank you, Ryan, for that one. Patty Smalls, starting up top for the U.S. at the World Cup. Let's make it happen.
Can't wait. Excellent stuff. And I know you're all thinking it, listener. How many listeners does Total Soccer Show have in Morocco? I've just looked it up. Over the past month, 86.
Wow.
Thousands are furious. Nice try, Ryan.
The most listened, the most engaged African nation, in fact, South Africa 83, Madagascar just 12, Joe. We'll get there. We've got to crack that Madagascar market.
Yeah, we
that's
do.
what I think.
We do. And those are those animals from the film.
We got to start. Yeah. We got to go in all lemur 11, and then we'll pull them in.
It's quite a lot of penguins, sassy penguins. That's making up that 12. Very good. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we've got a listener question about the centre-back talent pool. Let's get there in a second. Welcome back to USMNT Weekly on the Total Soccer Show. We've got a listener question from Clay Dubs. Clay W has been in touch with this one. Considering the lack of American centre-back talent, rude, do you think Poch could or should consider trying a midfielder at that position? This could be an opportunity for more minutes for guys like Johnny, for Tessman, Aidan Morris, etc. and so on, especially if we continue to play with a back three. Joe, what do we think here? Should we do some Pep-style transformations with some midfielders here?
I don't love it and I don't hate it, is kind of the TLDR. For me, and I think kind of the proof is in the question, Johnny Tessman and Aidan Morris aren't guys that scream, man, I need more minutes under Pochettino. You know, I know their competition is Mark McKenzie and Miles Robinson and some of these other guys. Those guys are in the same bucket. But for me, they're all kind of in the same bucket, except for Tessman, who I think he's a guy with a really, really high ceiling, even if his play is inconsistent. I am a big fan of his game. I'm just not quite ready to like shoehorn him into a US lineup because his talent demands it. I don't think we're quite there at the moment, but I do just want to plant my flag in the ground now as a Tessman believer who would not be surprised if he is starting next to Adams at the World Cup, to go back to the last segment for a minute. I don't think any of those central midfielders that we're trying to get on the field are so talented that they have to be on the field. I don't think they're natural fits to be a center back either in like a weird way. So let me run through the list. Johnny can't really pass the ball so far. And really at club level, he doesn't do a whole lot of like progressive passing. Aidan Morris doesn't thrive under pressure, and he's going to get some of that at least when he's pressed from build-up phases, and is also not a great progressive passer. James Sands really can't pass the ball, and Tyler Adams, you wouldn't take him out of midfield because you lose his ball winning there, and he is exceptional at that, even at this stage of his career. I think Tessman can distribute from deeper areas, but he's got, I think of this as the Weston McKennie problem of being a little too adventurous to play that role. I mean, if you're trying to build your perfect center back, it's basically Weston McKennie with a touch bit more passing and a lot more diligence positionally. That's the ideal center back. Dominant in the air, able to track back and cover ground, strong to win challenges, can pass the ball. But we're not getting that, and I don't think we're getting that from Tanner Tessman either. So I like this idea in theory because I'm so, whatever the opposite of enamored is with the other center back options outside of the really Chris Richards. But I'm not sure that the U.S. has that player to make it happen unless that player kind of magically appears, or maybe I'm just totally missing it.
Joe, if you had to, though, let's say all of our center backs suddenly get hurt at the World Cup and we have to throw in one player. Who is the player, like, genuinely, maybe it is Big Pat because of size and speed. I don't know. But who is a player that you think would be intriguing
That's hype.
in a positive way?
I love that, Taylor. Brandon Vasquez. I mean, no. My honest answer, even though I thought he was really poor in a difficult circumstance in the last window, but James Sands is my pick because he's done it before. Right? We've seen him play center back in a 4. We've seen him play it in a 3. He can do that job. He's not flashy about it. Nothing about James Sands is flashy ever for any reason. But he would be my pick just because I'm sort of averse to risk here in this decision-making process because that position is so important and you want someone with a relatively high floor. He would be my answer to that question, even though I don't like it.
I'm very quickly trying to Google his who scored history. I'm sure he played there for Rangers.
He definitely did for NYCFC. Yeah, he's played center back in a 3 and in a 4, no doubt.
Yeah.
Joe, would you rather see James Sands or Joe Scally starting as one of our center backs?
So this is interesting, Taylor, because in my thinking of other alternative solutions, Scally at center back is one of those.
Yep.
I don't think I love the idea of Joe Scally playing as a center back in a back 4, where he's defending as half of a center back pairing. He doesn't have elite height. He doesn't have elite speed. He's not an elite athlete. He is relatively disciplined positionally, which I think can make him work defensively as part of a back 3, and has shown the ability to be a really good 1v1 defender. If we remember that game against Vinicius Jr., where the U.S. played Brazil, Joe Scally was amazing in that game. We've seen flashes of that against Bayern in the Bundesliga as well. It's not consistent enough yet, unfortunately for him. Otherwise, he might be playing at a club that's better off than Gladbach. But Scally as the right center back in a back 3, I mean, I take that over Miles Robinson
that's
after how poor he was against Australia. I mean, Graham, I think that probably is the best answer here.
Yeah, I think so. And that just leads me back to thinking that's got to be something cultural or something, to do with Scally's personality, whatever that is, that explains why he's not in the squad. But
Joe's can't be trusted.
There we go. That's the real reason. But I know Scally's been playing as a right wing back. But if you were to ask me what's his best position, his optimum position, it is I would put him as a right-sided centre back. So it's confusing that he's just nowhere in the picture when that's a position of weakness right now.
Now I do have the answer, and I'm excited to share it with you. Is he elite? No, he is not. Is he?
Say Leonard Maloney.
Probably played pretty middling, and does he play for his club? No, he doesn't. It's Leonard Maloney, maybe.
I knew it.
I mean, that that is mostly in jest. But that is who I selected as my right center back when we did our USMNT draft. Whenever we did that long ago, or maybe last week, I forget. But either way, I like the idea of experimenting. Because we haven't been overly convinced by any of the center backs, it does seem like certain players have played themselves out of contention, or maybe Pochettino has seen what he needs to see. I do think it probably requires somebody getting hurt and somebody else getting hurt, like in warm-ups, for us to see this type of experimentation. But I still think it would be very fun because I think we do have some midfielders who could kind of do a serviceable job and just provide a spark.
Who out of the pool is the best ball carrier who could play in that position? Because I'm just thinking back to
Yunus Musa.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe.
in a way.
I'm just thinking back to when, and look, I'm not sure the USMNT should take much inspiration from anything Scotland's done in their entire history as a national team, but when the
Have you
back
ever
three
taken
was...
any inspiration from anything Scotland's done, Graham?
No, I try not to, as a deliberate ethos that I live my life by day to day. But when the back three was working for us, and it was, like we beat Spain and Norway, and we were quite good before the Euros. The thing that made that work was using Kieran Tierney as one of the back threes, as one of the centre-backs in the back three. And the reason that worked is he gave us a way to get out, and he's not a great passer of the ball, Kieran Tierney, but he can carry the ball, and that was the thing that got us into central midfield. And that is something... I think Rima's a decent enough passer to say that he offers something in that regard to get into midfield as the left-sided centre-back. Richards, it's not really a strength of his. If the US could find someone to carry the ball on the right side, I feel like that would be a decent balance to have. I just have no idea who that player is. I mean, in the previous segment, Joe, I think you said Noahkai Banks is a decent ball carrier. So
he sort of would be my, at least among the pure centre-backs, I think he is already showing enough for me to say he's probably best at driving the ball into midfield. I mean, if you're asking about the midfielders, Musa at his best is a great shout there, Taylor, but I don't know. It's hard to project him into the U.S. group at the moment. I mean, he would be a sort of interesting player for that role because it's not like you're wasting all the many things he's bringing at the moment by moving him back a line. You know, I don't know if he's got the defensive chops to do it. There are some questions there. To me, I just keep coming back to this idea that none of these guys seem like they're worth the risk of the positional transformation because they're just so talented. I mean, like Tessman is a guy that, again, I would most like to get on the field of this group who could physically play as a center back. And to me, that feels like a waste of some of this development time for him. So even that, I'm not enamored with. Again, I like the concept here because the center back pool is so weak. But my answer, just like I said in the first segment, truly, other than maybe you get Scally at right center back, is I would just give the minutes to Banks in the next couple of windows and see how he does. If it goes poorly, no worries. He can still come to the World Cup on the bench, and you can give McKenzie or Robinson or any of these other guys minutes, and you're no worse off than you were before.
Joe, I just got an email from barena@gmail.com, and he suggests Omar Gonzalez. Weird that Omar could come up in conversation.
Hey, Omar Gonzalez still playing for the Chicago Fire. He's just doing his thing, man.
And if everybody's excited about however old Tim Ream is, let's get 37-year-old Omar Gonzalez on that plane.
I can't believe Bayer Leverkusen Stadium emailed you, Graham. Taylor, that's crazy. Unbelievable. So the answer to Clay Dub's question, should Poch or would Poch consider a midfielder at that position of centre-back? Nah, it seems to be the consensus then.
I think what we've gotten to is the truth of it, which is like it would be interesting and I wouldn't hate it. It's just that when you dive deeper, I think Joe explained it pretty well. There's no one player that really feels like that's where they will excel and make the team better overall. It feels like it's going to be a roll of the dice no matter what. So I guess I kind of come back around to why not roll the dice with the players that we know are already familiar and comfortable in that position.
He would have done it by now, surely, Poch, if he was really considering it. I'd be surprised if we saw it.
Unless Leonard Maloney plays more than like the 12 minutes he's played this season, in which case get him on that plane.
Yeah. Well, he's very used to planes, being a World War II pilot himself, of course, Leonard Maloney.
I take it back 43 minutes. I apologize, Leonard.
None taken. Clay W., thank you very much indeed for your question there. That wraps up an episode of USMNT Weekly. Taylor Rockwell, thank you very much indeed for your contributions as always, sir.
My pleasure, and thank you.
Joe Lowery, thank you very much.
Hey, thanks, Ryan.
Graham Ruthven, pleasure as always, sir.
Thank you, Ryan Bailey.
And thank you, the mostest listener. We'll be back on this feed very shortly indeed. But for now, bye!